Tell them that was an outage. She said, "What? You got four things on it. That's an outage. I can change this all in my car."
Okay. All right, welcome. This is Coach Smith, and I'm live here in South Carolina. Hope you guys are plugging in with Coach Smith. I love the game 24/7. Sports, talk, live. Go ahead and get on and jump on, and we have a quick, brief conversation. So looking forward to sharing just some things that's what's going on in our football or college recruiting world. So I'm live on IG, YouTube, and Facebook right now with Love the Game 24/7. Appreciate you guys joining me. I had to. I'm in South Carolina visiting my mother-in-law since we didn't get here during the holidays. So we're in South Carolina, and so I appreciate you guys joining me. Wanted to be sure I got on. So thank you for joining Love the Game 24/7 podcast with Coach Jeff Smith. Talk about all things recruiting, all sports, male and female. And so there was a lot of interesting things going on in sports this week. News about Florida State being on probation because of NIL issues. That was some news. It don't seem like it got a whole lot of news, but I saw some news about that. We got the GOAT, Nick Saban, St. Nick retiring. And part of why he said he's retiring is he made reference to NIL. You know, there's some things about that. So we'll get in a little bit about that, those conversations, and how NIL and the transfer portal also was something that he mentioned. I don't think the portal was much of an issue. The portal has always been around. It's just that the NIL thing has taken the portal to a whole nother level, the transfer portal. So more or less, it's been the effects of NIL opportunities for athletes. And so I've heard a lot of interesting conversation on different outlets, media outlets, podcasts from other experts out there, other people who are very knowledgeable about college sports or sports in general, and not just from a football perspective or basketball perspective, but just in general, and not just the men's sports, because we've seen NIL deals take off for our female athletes. Because I'm a diehard Hurricane fan, being from Florida. I know the two young ladies last year, the twin sisters, were very good basketball players, have pretty much passed on playing basketball at the next level because they'll probably make more money doing their viral stuff than they would playing in the WNBA. You know, so that hopefully put some pressure on the WNBA to pay the ladies better salaries, you know, so the game could continue to grow and be at a very high level of competition to make it to draw more people to watch it. And I think it's growing anyway. So we definitely have those things. So NIL is not just affecting male student athletes, but it's also female student athletes who benefit. We saw LSU, right? We saw the LSU team benefit from it, right? We saw Iowa, you know, Katie, she's a baller. You know, all these, you know, South Carolina, Don Staley's team puts out some some of the top players, and some, it's great to see that the women's sports is taking off and they're getting NIL deals, so that's great. The girls are benefiting from it as well, so that's huge to see that. So it's not just the men's sports that's being positively affected in college, but it's also the women's sport as well. But I just want to get on and talk about what St. Nick talked about how NIL has affected college, and he's kind of stepping away from it, because he's a little bit older, whatnot. But Nick has a lot of resources to his disposal. He has coaches that he could give some of those responsibilities to. But I just think with him being the head person, a lot is going to be, will come down on him. And there are times where things like the issue with Florida State going on probation with some things with NIL, with one of the assistant coaches being suspended for several weeks. And then also you have loss of some scholarships, I think for a year or so. I think they losing like 5 scholarships. And they also are having to not be able to communicate with some athletes during the time where colleges can talk to prospective ball players, with some of their suspension is taking them away from allowing them to do some of those things with their recruiting, because of some NIL issues with an assistant coach. Because what it is with NIL coaches, the school cannot bring deals or try to woo you to their college by saying we're going to give you a certain amount of money in NIL opportunities. That strictly can only come from the boosters, right? It can only be generated from boosters making contact with these potential kids through a student athlete having an agent that's only strictly able to can talk to boosters about NIL deals for that student coming to that particular college. So students are supposed to have an agent that can only talk about NIL. They can't talk about NFL or any opportunities. They can only talk about NIL opportunities with the boosters of these different schools that are touting some of you male and female student athletes. That's where the communication has to begin and end with that. So you have to be leery, student athletes, about how you handle your business and make sure you get someone to represent you that knows the ins and outs about NIL opportunities. But what Nick Saban was saying about why he was ready to retire was because of the changing environment of college sports in general with the NIL. He shared that he was not against student athletes making money, and that's because, let's keep it 100, that's because they've always been making money in college sports. You could have these things done. If we want to be honest and tell the truth, student athletes have been getting paid at some of these schools since I can remember, right? So a lot of us have stories of our own, or of people we grew up with that were heavily recruited athletes that we know got things from schools that they were being recruited by. So so if we're going to keep it 100, we know that's always been the case. It's just that now with NIL, you can't keep it secret about what players, what money, right? Because it's now all social media and student athletes are sharing it. And so that's one of the things that I want to do at Love the Game 24/7 is teach our student athletes how to handle business properly, because you don't always need to let everybody know your business, right? On your NIL deals, and those different things. But in the past, when they recruited these athletes, they could tell little Johnny over here or little Susie, this is what we're giving you, but they didn't have to share that information about how much they were giving this student in comparison to another player they were recruiting, right? But now this is illegal now, right? And so there's no issue with sharing it. So now it makes it harder. It's definitely good, because to me, I think it's good because it leveled the playing field. No longer will you see Alabama dominating college sports. It's just not going to happen anymore. So that's the thing that I think Nick Saban realizes. Um, he realizes that the playing field has been leveled, because of NIL opportunities. You student athletes, male and female, can have some leverage, and that's good. But the thing about the leverage is you don't want to be careful that you don't get too crazy, and that's what Nick Saban shared when during the interview that I saw briefly. That he just said some of the NIL opportunities that he's having to compete with. Some student athletes and families are asking for some crazy stuff sometimes. And I think a lot of that has to do with because some people aren't educated, some people aren't aware or familiar, and sometimes you may ask for something in the NIL opportunity that's just it doesn't really I won't say make sense, but I was listening to Unc and Ocho Cinco's show, and they were talking about it, and one thing Ocho Cinco shared that's a concern to him about it, that and it's like I feel the same way. I'm all for it. I'm a college athlete that could have definitely used some NIL deals when I was growing up. Would have been lovely to have these opportunities. And you got to always remember to give your student athletes today to give be grateful and thankful to the ones who came before you that have helped this game grow to where now these TV deals and these schools and NCAA are getting so much money because of how far the game has progressed. Not just football, but even basketball. All these athletes and even some other sports like lacrosse. I mean, I love watching lacrosse. Some of these other sports are growing, and the TV money and all those things have grown astronomically for schools and for conferences and for the NCAA to take advantage of. But one thing they shared on their show was that you have to be careful that you don't lose your passion for wanting to be great in your sport. And Ocho shared how he could remember when some guys would get be in the league and get better contracts and make more money. Not all guys, but he just said there were some guys sometimes would back off from how they play, how they perform, because now they got their money and feel like, hey, I don't need to do anything else. And Shannon just shared that, hey, you always got to have a mindset. You be humble, but you stay hungry, right? You want to have a legacy of being great, and don't ever, no matter how big a bag you get, don't ever stop working towards leaving a legacy of greatness. And when I say greatness, I don't mean you have to be a Hall of Fame or anything like that, but how you carried yourself and how you did your business. That, and definitely when you do that, you are going to have some great performances in your sport. And you may potentially be able to be a Hall of Fame or something one day, in college Hall of Fame or Pro Hall of Fame if you make it that far, or whatever you do in sports, because there's a lot of opportunities outside of playing on the field that you may get an opportunity to get involved in, and because you spent time at that college or that university and built relationships through your NIL opportunities, because you were a great high school player and it carried over to you being potentially a great college player. You definitely want to take advantage, but you have to remember you have to keep yourself motivated. You can't let the money or the bag that you get be the uh, uh, reason as to why you always stay motivated. It can't just be that. That can be a part of it, which I think it should be and it can be. But just for the simple fact that, hey, I love the game 24/7. I want to leave a legacy of being great on and off the field. Definitely Shannon Sharp is a great example of it. There's a lot of athletes I can name, that were great on the field and they're doing great things now off the field in some other areas. But it's because they learned at a young age. Because Shannon always shares about what his grandmother and what his grandfather taught him, right? Um, and and definitely those are some great lessons that he learned from them old school parents that he had, right? Some old college sports has kind of changed. It's recruiting has not changed. You still have to learn how to build relationships, right? You have to learn how to market yourself. That you always have to do that. We just now have better ways of doing it, possibly through using social media, and so kids have that. But You can't always prove everything on social media. I got to see you physically. I got to put my eyes on you physically, meet you personally, build a relationship with you personally. I can't build a personal relationship with you through um, social media and viral videos and all those things. So the basics um, of recruiting is still always the same. You still need to write letters. You still need to have a profile sent out. It's just easier to get it done, today than it was when I was coming up, because I literally had to type out all these letters. Where today is copy and paste, and you just make sure you copy and paste the right person you're sending stuff to. You just need to be mindful of that and make sure you have great video, you have great game tape, because game tape doesn't lie. You got to make sure you have good study habits. Right now, my son would tell you, as he's playing in NFL, and even when he was in college playing Power 5 football, that they keep track of how much you study tape on your tablet. And so if you're not putting in time with your studies, as well as putting in time with on your tablet that they give you to make sure you watch videotape to get prepared for the next game that's coming up, you have a requirement by your head coach and your position coach to watch so much film time. And you have to start doing that stuff now while you're young, and have that habit of being a student of the game, right? And you don't just need to be a student of the game, on the court, on the field, or lacrosse or soccer, wherever you're playing, but you need to also be a student of the game and understand, like you guys do now, about this NIL opportunities. But some coaches feel like the concern is that some kids are more caught up with going viral than they are about being great at their sport that they're being recruited in. And sometimes we'll lose that work ethic or that passion, that love for the game 24/7 that we talk about all the time. So that's the concern somewhat about NIL. I don't think there's anything wrong with NIL. It's just that we need to get our young people, our boys and girls now at the middle school age, and parents, and start coaching and teaching you about what makes sense. If you do have an NIL opportunity, because everybody's getting recruited is not going to have an NIL opportunity coming out of high school. Some of you may get an NIL opportunity when you get to college and you start making a name for yourself, but everybody's not going to have NIL opportunities. So that's the other thing we have to be realistic about. There's only a certain number of kids coming out of high school, young men, young ladies coming out of high school, and they're great at their sport. And they're going to possibly have themselves opportunities at having an NIL deal. So that's not going to be everybody, but you may grow into possibly having an NIL deal, if we can get you in the middle school age and get you started out right. And maybe some of the people I'll be able to help, I can help, groom you and show you how the best way of going about that if you do have that opportunity. But we have to be realistic. Everybody's not going to have those opportunities coming out of high school. But it doesn't mean you're not going to be able to get a scholarship somewhere and have opportunities. Some people, you have to be just as much as excited about the process of potentially being great and maybe helping yourself get NIL deals and the scholarship at a Power 5 school or whatever level you want to play at. You got to be just as excited about the process as you are about the results that you want to have. Let me say that again. You have to be just as excited, right, and just as motivated about going through the process as you are about the results that you want to receive in your sport. You want to receive these top level scholarship opportunities. How much are you dedicated with putting in work in your sport, right? You don't need to be putting in work all the time sitting in front of the camera when you're an athlete. You need to be sure that you're putting in time, maybe do some viral stuff of the work you're putting in, right? Some of the hard work that you're putting in. So that should be more of the focus than on my NIL deal, because that stuff sometimes will just work itself out because you spent time in working the process, right? Getting the process down so that you can be a great athlete in your sport, young man, young lady, right? Your young student athletes. So yeah, don't lose that motivation about the process. Do you like everything about the process? No, we don't all like everything about the process. I love and enjoy lifting weights and different things like that. I don't always like running track and all the stuff. But when I look back on it, I appreciate how it prepared me to be the type of athlete I was, to be able to get myself opportunities at each level. And you got to understand that the competition gets better and better, and it's tighter. So everybody can't go to college and play their freshman year because you may not be ready yet. You could be physically ready, but you're not mentally ready, because the speed of the game changes from high school to college, right? And sometimes it may take a few games for you to adapt to that. I had the blessing because I played Division II football, I was able to get in and experience that, the fourth or fifth game of the season. And it's a distinct difference. Even though I was a fast guy, I wasn't familiar with that speed of the game. Guys move faster because they think faster, they think better. And the competition is at a much higher level. But it only took, about a few plays in that first game I got out there and played to where I said, okay, this is what's up. This game ain't no joke. I got to get out here. I better know what I'm doing, right? I better be ready. And I can remember distinctly my first play. I went out for a pass coming out of the backfield and went on a little out route. And the quarterback kind of overthrew me a little bit, and I kind of dove for the football to catch the football. And I just remember soon I dove and kind of slid a little bit, and I was getting up, and a DB and a linebacker came across my head when I was getting up. And I remember looking at the ref saying, "Hey, ref, late hit, what's up?" And all the ref said to me was, "Welcome to college football 2-7." And that was it. That was the play that changed everything, where I understood, this is college football. This is not high school football. And either I'm going to meet it or I'm going to shrink back and not compete. And being where I'm from, because being born and raised in Florida, and I'm not going back, I'm not going to let nobody punk me or anything of that nature. And it was like, okay, I see what's going on, and I appreciate the fact that the ref told me, welcome to college football 2-7, because he was right. He wasn't going to throw a flag on something because I was dove for a pass and was getting up, and they were they were already in motion, ready to, lay me out. Yeah, they laid me out after I was getting up. They came across my head and took me out, And so from that point on, it made me focus even more about my preparation and the process of wanting to be a great college ball player, to get myself an opportunity to go to the next level, to the NFL. And so I don't have time. I don't have time for excuses. I don't have time for pity parties or complaining to the ref because I didn't get a penalty call. No, it's called go back to the drawing board, go back and look at film and see what I could have done differently or better to make sure it doesn't happen again. And you can be rest assured it didn't happen again. Because I woke up and realized, man, this game here at this level, everybody is good. So this is not high school football anymore. This is college football. Thanks for joining. Appreciate you joining me on IG. Just talking about NIL and some of the news that came out. Coach Saban, St. Nick, retiring, and just talking about how student athletes need to be sure that they stay excited about the process and don't always look for quick success. Sustainable success comes gradually, not right away. So if you want to have sustainable success that'll carry you over, year after year after year, you have to be just as excited about the process as you are about the results that you want to receive. And so you have to be sure you maintain your love for the game 24/7, right? In the preparation. It's no different than me now doing this podcast and doing lives and all these different things and think I'm going to blow up overnight because I'm sharing some great information that I know is needed out there in college sports and also needed for some of those student athletes when they get ready to go to the NFL or NBA or NHL or pro tennis or the LPGA or the PGA, doesn't matter. If you're a college athlete, a high school athlete, and your desire is to try to make it to the next level. you need to be sure you keep being humble but hungry. Love the process, or appreciate the process. You may not always love it, but appreciate the process. All right, because the goal is you want to be great. The goal is, I want to buy my mother a house. I want to get my family out of this, financial distress, or change, my family situation. And that's great, and that's great motivation. But after you do accomplish that, what's the next thing that you're gonna utilize? Michael Jordan, he used to always say, always came up with some sort of way to motivate himself, even if it wasn't true about a player. When he would share, the oldest player said something to me, I got to take it to him tonight, or even if a player did say something to him, thinking that they're gonna, shut Michael Jordan down, tonight. And he would use different things of that nature to help motivate him, in practice, during the game, during his preparation, that made him, great. And if and you should, every last one of us, in whatever we do, whether it's a sport or not, if you play an instrument or whatever it is, you should desire to be great at what you do, right? It's not that you're better than anybody, but you can be better at some things than some other people are at some things. But it doesn't mean you're a better person than they are. You're just better at doing a certain task or a certain talent. You might be better than somebody, and that's fine. But it doesn't make you better than them. But you need to just be sure that with all these NIL opportunities, that you're realistic. Some of you young ladies and young men out there who may have some of these opportunities, be realistic. Definitely, you always come in high, so you get what you really feel you deserve, right? But I know Nick Saban, in his interview, kind of shared briefly about how some of the things that he's heard with requests that have come across him with some of these kids with NIL can be kind of out there, and I think we need to get a handle on those types of things when it comes to NIL. I absolutely agree with that. Because I understand also from standpoint with working with a sports agency that I'm a part of, that sometimes you get players who may have an opportunity to go to the next level. And depending on how they're graded by the NFL, or even if they have a grade at all, they're asking for a lot of stuff from agents that are just kind of out there. This stuff carries over from college into the pros sometimes, when some agents sometimes are looking to sign some guys. And for anybody to say, oh, well, he's just trying to make money. We're all trying to make money. Everybody's trying to make money. You just be careful that you don't get involved with people who want to take advantage of you. That's the goal. So don't sit here and say somebody, oh, they're just trying to make money. We're all trying to make. You're trying to make money as an athlete as well as you should for your talent and other things that you're good at. And if you have an agent, they'll take time and do things for you. They deserve to get, paid for what they do, right? But they don't need to be taking advantage of you. If somebody's taking advantage of you, you fire them. And you find somebody who's genuine and who's going to be honest and who's going to teach you and show you things that's going to help better you and not take advantage of you. So that's the thing that you have to be careful of, but you as a student athlete, if there's opportunity for you to get paid, you definitely need to get paid and take advantage of your opportunities. But think about the ones that's coming after you that deserve to get paid one day as well. There was always talks about that when I was growing up, but it never happened. But to see it now come to fruition, because there's players during my time who pushed for that, and who some of you younger folks got a hold of that information and saw, like, yeah, this is not fair. When you look at the NCAA video games and the money that was made off that, and student athletes not having a piece of that pie, that's totally not fair, right? Because people making money off your name and image and likeness on these video games. When they had the college video game, and so that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about, where the NCAA was taking advantage of that situation because they were using players' name, image, and likeness on there, but not compensating athletes for that. Right. So that's the kind of stuff where this all came about, because players, student athletes, male and female, on these games and different things of that nature, and jersey sales and all that stuff, paraphernalia at the colleges and universities, selling your jersey number. And because you're a good player, people are buying your jersey number, but you're not seeing any kind of benefit from it or compensation from that. That's not fair. That's the NCAA taking advantage of you, right? And so that's why we have NIL. Now, granted, there need to be some things I think can be changed, but to make sure you try to kind of spread the wealth, because it's not just the star players out there making a difference. It's that old line that you have that nobody knows of. It's that D line that not too many people know about that deserves getting paid, because if those guys weren't out there and up front doing some of the things they were doing, you may not have that great running back or that quarterback being able to throw those great passes that they can throw, and then the receiver, making great catches, making the quarterback look great and scoring touchdowns and all those different things, and then making the coach look good, and they make great money, but the student athlete is not getting anything. NIL, that helps, right? And I'm wholeheartedly on board with it. We just have to reel some things in to be sure that we don't get too crazy with stuff, and then somehow they they totally ruin the whole opportunity of NIL opportunities for student athletes, right? And so I don't see it going away, and it shouldn't go away. And we want to fight as hard as possible for it not to go away, but learn how to teach you young ladies and young men about your value, and how you should get compensated for your value and what you bring to that college or university where you're playing your sport. We need to do as much teaching and educating as possible. But like I said, you need to definitely always be mindful as that athlete, that you're bringing a product that people love, and you're giving results in your sport that is elevating you to a level of familiarity in your sport, and people are viewing it and watching it. And so we need to show appreciation for that, and you need to continue to work hard and be motivated as much as possible, and find things to help motivate you and keep you motivated even after you have gained some success. Okay, that we still got to stay motivated and excited about what we're doing. And part of your motivation might be, I want to make sure I do well for those coming behind me, that I want to make sure that I leave opportunity for them, to use this benefit of NIL for those after me who come after me. So that could be part of your motivation as well. So just wanted to come on today and just talk about that a little bit briefly, and share about how important these things are. And and maybe it's time for St. Nick from Alabama to retire and pass it on to a younger coach who's more willing and able to deal with some of these things. But love the game 24/7 with Coach Smith. My goal, as I said, I can't expect to just blow up all of a sudden, overnight, and you want to be careful about some things when you get success too early, because it's not always going to be sustainable. I want long-term success that's going to last me for years, right? Even when you move from your sport to doing something else, right? Like those two young girls I mentioned, the twin sisters from University of Miami basketball, right? They transferred from one school and transferred to Miami, but they were able to leave the game of basketball. They left a legacy in college sports, women's basketball, and now they're going to build a legacy with their viral and things that they're doing from their sport. And that's what you want to do, guys. You want to be able to, that when you decide to move from your sport, or when it's time to retire or whatever it is, even if you had a career in pro in golf or tennis or lacrosse or football or basketball or soccer or baseball or softball, and after your career, that you've done some things so well during your career in college or in the pro level, but you're able to keep moving forward and being successful in whatever else it is you're going to do beyond that, right? And so that's what's more important than anything. Okay, and just like I listen to Coach Derek Tatum, good brother to follow. Derek Tatum, he's another good gentleman to follow that's helping kids in the Georgia area and beyond with his 7-on-7 and recruiting trips that he does and camps and things that he puts on. So be sure you look up Coach Derek Tatum with Elite. I think it's Elite Talent or something like that. But just look up Coach Derek Tatum or Derek Tatum. I love listening to him too because he and I are like on the same page with a lot of these things, and I'm not afraid to share about other people who are out here doing some of the things that I'm doing. He's been doing it for a long time as well. But like he shared about the transfer portal, some kids got to learn how to use that transfer portal to their advantage, right? And not to their disadvantage. Because a lot of kids go in the portal and end up losing a scholarship and not playing anywhere. Okay. So we go from talking about the NIL matters and whatnot, and also how it affects the transfer portal. You need to be sure that before a coach pushes you out, because sometimes, like now, we see the Washington coach got the job at Alabama, right? I'm sure there's going to be some kids that transfer from Washington that want to go to Alabama that he's going to want there, and there's some kids at Alabama that he may potentially not want. Who knows, right? And so you need to use that. Go to that coach and say, hey, before I leave, I don't care what school you're at, and the coach is telling you, hey, yeah, you're not going to play here, blah blah blah. Whoever the coach is, that new coach is at Washington, that's going to come in may not want to keep some of the guys that are there and try to push him through the transfer portal to go somewhere and transfer. Who knows? I'm sure he's not going. You can't get rid of everybody because he's going to, whoever the new coach is at Washington is going to need some of those guys to remain there and not transfer. But there may be some that they're not as strong on keeping at Washington whenever the new coach comes in, and he may be telling some kids, hey, yeah, you need to go in the portal. You won't play here under me, or blah, 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 and you don't have to accept that, right? You can tell that coach, well, you need to help me find another school at this level, Division I. They have relationships. These coaches have relationships with each other, right? You do your homework as well, student athlete, but you also need to put it on that school to say, hey, if you can find me another school to transfer to, I'll transfer. But otherwise, I'm transferring my Washington degree because I'm thinking beyond my sport. I'm thinking beyond basketball, beyond football, beyond soccer, right? Beyond baseball. Because some of this stuff, same stuff happening in football and basketball with transfer portal, happens even in baseball, in softball and soccer. Maybe not at the level to where people want to report about it and talk about it as much as they do with football and basketball, but it happens. Okay. And so you need to be smart and wise as a student athlete to know I don't have to transfer just because you say I'm not going to. No, I'm going to come play here. I'm on scholarship because you are. And then you can say, hey, I'll be willing to transfer if you're going to help me, get with the sports information director and the head coach and say, hey, if you guys can find me another place to transfer to, I'll be more than happy. But otherwise, I'm gonna get this degree, from where I'm at because I'm thinking beyond just my sport. Because I there's some things I plan on being successful in beyond just my sport. Because I can only play a sport for so long, depending upon what sport it is. So you don't just give in because the coach says that to you. Sometimes you got to just meet the challenge. Sometimes, I remember I went through that. I lost some teammates when we got a new coach my junior year because he was honest and said, hey, some guys you may not, play here because we're trying to take the program to another level because we have been losing. And he's like, look, I'm coming in to change this program. Either you decide you want to show me otherwise why we should keep you on scholarship, or some of you guys going to lose your scholarship. My mindset was I ain't going nowhere unless I make the decision. But I'm going to show you because being from Florida, I ain't, my mindset is no, we ballers, right? And I'm going to show you better than I can tell you, right? And so sometimes you have to have that mentality. No, I ain't transferring. I'm going to show you. You're going to need me, right? You may be a new coach. I've been here. You're new here. I'm not new here as a player, but the coach may be new there. But they got to understand, hey, I'm going to meet this challenge. I'm going to show you how much you are going to need me to help you be successful, coach, and be a leader on the team, right? To help people buy into your system, And so sometimes you may need to go man up or woman up and go sit down and have that hard conversation, right? And parents, you gotta, infuse your kids with that confidence and that courage and let them know, I've done that. I've shared it. And my son had it, many times me saying, hey man, go sit down and talk with the coach, man to man, and hey, and then you can come back and talk to dad about what he says and we can make a decision. But hey, don't be afraid to go talking to no man, to no person about, hey, what's going on? What's the options I have here? What are you looking for? What's your plan? right? And when you step up and do that, then you meet the challenge. You know, if it's something you feel you can meet, hey, meet the challenge, but you also put it back on them and say, okay, if you're gonna want me to go somewhere else, then you find another place for me to transfer to, and I'll be willing to transfer. But sometimes you need to be willing to stay as well. You know, sometimes you need to be coached and mentored through things about how to handle certain situations like that, right? So, and so that's what Love the Game 24/7 with Coach Smith is all about. Okay, so just know we're here, and you can partner with me. I sent out a bunch of videos on TikTok this week. Be sure to go out there and view it on YouTube. Remember, you can go to Linktree for Love the Game 24/7 and get all my social media platforms and listen to some of the messages I put out there. You know, definitely right now, if you're interested in partnering with Coach Smith, you know, I left my email, love the game 24/7, right? Or excuse me, love the 24/7 game at gmail.com. Love the 24/7 game at gmail.com. So be sure, you know, you go to my link tree for Love the Game 24/7 and click on the link for the free ebook in the video so you can listen to my message, my 6-step method driven. You definitely need to listen to that 6-step method driven that I put out there, my acronym driven. Go listen to that message via Linktree under Love the Game 24/7 and click on it's either the first or second tab, right? And you'll be able to put your email in to a secure site that I have that keeps, I don't share emails or anything like that to anybody. And when you sign up for the free ebook, it will come to a secure site and then come to my Gmail account, or you can just email me directly at love the247game at gmail.com. That's love the247game at gmail.com. So be sure to follow me, subscribe to me on YouTube, follow me on IG, follow me on TikTok, right? Your parents can get on Facebook and follow me. And I'm coming out soon with the 10-week digital course to be able to walk you student athletes and parents through the recruiting process. Personally, I'll be walking you through it. And I'm going to have, now that the season's over, my son's season's over with the Cardinals, and Lucas Dennis is a good friend from college who's with the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to be reaching out to them to get them scheduled to come on and talk about their experience through recruiting and in college. And so look forward to that. I'll be sharing that pretty soon about that. So you'll be able to hear from some NFL guys who directly, you know, benefited from Coach Smith helping them. My own son and also Lucas Dennis, who's my son, and helping him getting back into the league with the Atlanta Falcons. So I'm going to get those two on soon. I just got to let them take a breather since their season just ended, and get with them in their schedules and have them become guests on here. I'm also going to get my former college coach and get him on here. I'm going to get one of my former teammates who was also a college coach and who understands and knows about recruiting and get him on here. So there's going to be a lot of different things when you partner with Love the Game 24/7 that we're going to give you to help walk you through this and help you be successful throughout your experience. You know, and we want you middle school age kids all the way up to high school and beyond, right? So just wanted to come on and share that little bit of information while I'm here in South Carolina with my peoples at my mother-in-law's house here. So I'll be sharing this on YouTube, bits and pieces of it on YouTube and TikTok. But look for more information and things about the 10-week digital course as I wind down and get these PowerPoint presentations and different things all prepared for that to walk you guys through personally. There's going to be a lot more things I'm going to be offering with when you partner with me, you know, like sitting down with you personally on a Zoom and getting to know you and different things of that. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for things of that nature to sit down one-on-one with Coach Smith and look at video and different things of that nature. I don't care what sport it is. And, you know, we're going to talk about how you need to train, how you need to get bigger and stronger and faster. There's going to be a lot of information on that as well, you know. And so we're going to talk about the importance of why it's good to play more than one sport, multiple sports, and be successful, you know. I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff, give a lot of good information, and walk you through this thing, right, personally. Okay, so looking forward to that. So I appreciate you joining me today. I look forward to seeing you again during the week when I'm either coming live on Tuesday or Wednesday, but every Saturday, right? And I try to do it at 11:30, but because we were traveling today, I got on a little bit later today. I got on an hour later. So, but for most part on Saturdays, it would be 11:30 Eastern time. So I appreciate you guys joining me and look forward to sharing more with you in the future. But have a good Martin Luther King weekend and enjoying with family and food and all that good stuff. All right. So until next time, with Love the Game 24/7 and Coach Smith. Peace.